I want to take you to a press conference which is being held by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you on your strong mentality, which allow us to achieve the goals of this operation very successfully. I'd like to send my condolences to the families of those who lost their dear ones. I'm sending a warm hug to all those who are injured and wish for speedy recovery. I'd like to thank you, the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff of IDF, Chief of Police and Minister of Internal Affairs, all the warriors of IDF, the cops and the border patrol, those in the emergency service, the foreign minister and the staff of foreign ministry who were recruited in order for the effort of explaining our position. Special thanks to Danny Nadav. We stood united, shoulder to shoulder, looking only at one thing: bringing back the security and quiet to the citizens of Israel. As a Prime Minister of Israel, the only thing that instructs me when I decide on these things is the safety and security of Israel and keeping its citizens and soldiers alive. I define the main goal of this operation: to hit the terror organizations hard and to bring back peaceful and to base. Not everything is known to the public and to the Hamas, and it will be uncovered during time. In this stage, I can say we did brave and new things without going into further unnecessary actions. I believed that we could have achieved better results without going into Gaza with a ground force. But most of the Israeli citizens saw that we act in determination, in intelligence, and I add with high responsibility. I see my mission as to keep the mothers, the boys, to prevent unnecessary cost of lives. We cause tremendous damage to Hamas with the minimum casualties. In the beginning of the operation, I said that Hamas will be hit with unimaginable hits, and this is what we did. We destroyed the tunnels, and we started doing it in July 2016. I brought to the cabinet a decision to establish an underground route. The Hamas saw a cement wall, and if they try to go above ground, they will be hit with huge fire. This is what the terrorists have done in Tzuk to infiltrate the food hall of the kibbutz, and they thought they could do it this time. But now they discovered that they are blocked because of the metal wall that we've built. It's a smart wall with sensors which can track and alert. Every time they try to get near, They were blocked, including until the last minute of this operation. All those infrastructures the Hamas invested in the tunnels went down the drain. We destroyed the defense tunnels of the Hamas under the Gaza Strip, in which Hamas thought they will hide and manage the war with no interruption. We planned for years an airstrike plan to hit those underground tunnels. Hamas invested huge amounts of money in those tunnels, and now it went down the drain. The Hamas cannot hide. This is a huge achievement for the State of Israel. Not only have we hit more than 100 kilometers of this system, we showed that it's a death trap to terrorists. I think it's a tremendous achievement for the IDF. And I must say, a tremendous achievement that no other army in the world achieved. And we achieved that underground. And for now, what we achieved above ground. We killed more than 200 terrorists. Few of them are seniors. We destroyed an important command chain of the Hamas and the Jihad. And those who were not killed knows that our long way could reach him both under and over ground. We hit buildings of terrors. These are offices of the Hamas, headquarters and weapons warehouses of the Hamas. We hit those while minimizing casualties of uninvolved civilians. Huge effort and warning ahead of time, civilians like no state, no army is doing. The IDF is the most moral army in the world. We hit the drones, and Iron Dome protected 90% of all the missiles that were shown, that were rocketed. In the sea, we hit the sea unit of the Hamas. Just as I promised, we hit most capabilities of Hamas, much more than what their commanders had thought. They thought we will continue business as usual, but instead we hit them hard in a game-changing way, and I'd like to emphasize it more than anything else. We changed the equation, not only during the operation, we changed it also for days ahead. If the Hamas thinks we will agree with rockets, they're wrong. We will react on rockets aimed at us on any part of Israel. They brought it into their own hand, onto themselves. They always go out of the tunnels bragging, but they know that what they brought onto themselves. They know our capabilities, and we brought them years back. In this type of operation, there's always international pressure, critical articles in the international media. But now we got an international support for dozens of countries who stood behind us. I'd like to thank my friend, the President of the United States, Joe Biden. We talked 6 times in the last few days. Warm, friendly talks
חד משמעית על התמיכה הבלתי מסויגת של ארצות הברית בזכות ההגנה העצמית של מדינת
He expressed the unequivocal support. I told him that each country in which missiles were rocketed towards its capital would not sit and do nothing. Once we achieve the goals of this operation, we will stop. And the president understood that. Thank you, President Joe Biden, also for his cooperation with Iron Dome. And I'd like to thank all dozens of leaders in the world. I saw people in the cities of Europe on buildings, and it's moving, very moving. We met foreign ministers who came during the war here to express their support. I'd like to thank all those leaders and those states. Lots of people in the world know to distinguish between a democracy of Israel and bloodthirst terror organization that is idolizing death while using their civilians as human shield. Citizens of Israel, we do not forget our missing people and captured. The results of this operation get us into a better position to bring them home. Soon we will bring more aid to those living in the south and to Ashkelon, who got 1,000 missiles rocketed on them. They will get more economic benefits. And I remind you, after Tzuk Eitan, we brought the southern settlements to highs of developments, and they were growing more than anywhere else in Israel. This will be the case now. They grew and they will continue to grow. We had to face an internal front within Israel. We accelerated the forces of the police with the border police to persecute all the criminals. It's not simple. Anyone who hurt and kill and burn synagogue and shops and destroy and destruct will be paying high price for it. I keep requesting the leaders of Arab to condemn this. And I said, it's not all or even most of the Arab public, but it's a significant minority that needs to be ousted. No one will take the law into its own hand, nor Arabs or Jews. We are a state of law, and we are one state. We saw it in the pandemic. We will act to recover the coexistence. So that everyone will join the huge success of this country. We went through difficult days of missiles and fire. This struggle did not begin today. It started more than 100 years. Each generation needs to stand to it. In the Yom Kippur War, and until now, we will win. We are winning. 2,700 years ago, the prophet Amos said, when I set fire to Gaza wall and its palaces were destroyed. But the prophet Amos said another thing. That day is now. And the country of Israel, the state of Israel, is stronger than ever,
נוסיף להבטיח את נצח ישראל.
prosper,
שבת שלום.
and we will continue to assure the eternity of Israel. Ministry of Defense.
You're watching Al Jazeera. That was a press conference being given by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He was talking about the recent attacks being carried out in Gaza against the Hamas organization. He said, I defined the main goal to hit the terror organizations, as he called them. He said, not everything is known to the public. We did brave and new things. I want to bring in Imran Khan, who's joining us live from Imran. Thanks very much for being with us. Imran, we were just listening to Benjamin Netanyahu there, and we just heard him talking about the phrasing that he was using was very much sounding like a victory speech.
Make no mistake, Rob, that was an actual victory speech. There's a few things I want to concentrate on. We'll take them as they came in sort of chronological order. The first thing is this degradation of Hamas and him saying that the tunnels have now gone. They're not a problem anymore. The tunnels is where Hamas were able to get around the Gaza Strip, to be able to launch rockets into Israel, a significant capability within Hamas's arsenal. He says those capabilities have now gone. The state of Israel has prevailed both above ground and underground. He actually did mention the fact that there is a wall of sorts. I haven't seen it certainly, but it is described as a wall of sorts that runs underground that stops Hamas coming into Israeli territory. Now, he's also said that this is the most significant degradation in any conflict of Hamas's arsenal, of Hamas's ability to strike Israel. Those are very, very strong words, and he's very proud of the way the Israeli army and the way he's acted in this war. And he's really selling that to the Israeli people as being the key purpose, the key way that Hamas were defeated. Now, after that, he once again reiterated his idea that he is the security prime minister of Israel. No one else, just him, is the only person that can defend Israel from Hamas, from international pressure. He mentioned there the idea that there was pressure coming on him from international governments, from critical articles in the media, and he was effectively saying, I can deal with that. I can deal with all of that pressure, just trust me. Now, Netanyahu's always been the security prime minister. That's his kind of bag. He's always said to Israelis, and that's why they've supported him in the past. He's also said, I'm the one person that can deal with America. And that's another point I want to come across. In this speech, he actually said, I spoke to President Joe Biden 6 times. Those conversations were warm and friendly. That's not what we're hearing from the American media. Certainly, there was a frustration from the President Joe Biden at Netanyahu's slow pace to try and get this ceasefire agreed to. But yes, this was an absolute victory speech. But one of the things, and I haven't ever heard him talk about Palestinians who have Israeli IDs living in central Israel before. This, I think, the first time, I may well be wrong, but I think this is the first time I've heard him mention those people. He says that that could be not a new front in the war, but certainly something of concern. He's asked Arab politicians within Israel to condemn the actions of those people in central Israel. Now, these are mixed cities between Jews and Palestinians who hold Israeli passports, Israeli IDs. They've been living fairly peacefully with each other for a very long time. But after the Sheikh Jarrah, where I am, incidents occurred, the evictions occurred, those mixed cities also rose up as well. However, he didn't mention, he actually said, look, this is a state of law and people will be prosecuted, Jew or Arab will be prosecuted. Those were his words if they broke the law. But he actually singled out the fact that synagogues were attacked. He talked about the attacks on the Jewish communities there. Not a single word about the Jewish attacks on the Palestinian Israeli communities there. So whether that was deliberate or whether that was a language thing, we don't know. But certainly this speech was a message to the international community foremost, but secondly, a message to Hamas as well, that their technology, their arsenal has been degraded. Hamas are going to react. They're going to say, actually, we proved to you that our rockets can launch further and further into central Israel. We can put Tel Aviv on notice and things of that nature. But this was Netanyahu saying to both Israelis, and very much because the message was in Hebrew, as well, message to the Israelis saying that I did it. It was me. And I withstood the pressure from the international community. I withstood the pressure from everybody, and I delivered you a victory.
Imran, thanks very much indeed. That's Imran Khan talking to us from Sheikh Jarrah in occupied East Jerusalem. Let's go to